So here we are on Thursday morning at the Sandyford Lewis stop. Just got off, and there's a Lewis in the distance heading back into Dublin, up to Broomridge, and part of the repurposed section at Broadstone, the side of Broadstone station, up to the old Liffey junction, now called Broomridge. And you have the Stillorgan stop up there. But if you were to rewind the clock by the decades, the only point of reference that's the same from 58 years ago, or sorry, 1958, so 67 years ago, get my maths correct, is the reservoir in there, which is currently drained and going under refurbishment. That was there back then. And there's a building up here, red brick building, part of the reservoir, just there. And the line ran along here. And to the left of me was just fields, and guess what? More fields. There's just an unbelievable amount of fields. So the two up and down lines, this is the up line, down line, they ran along here. So the Lewis depot down here, this opened in June 2004. Probably start building the depot 2002 or thereabouts. And there you have the branch line, if you can call it that, to Bridestone. So they took the decision, because of low density, not to go through Fox Rock. But as I'll point out in a while, the alignment is available if they were to go to Fox Rock and onwards to Carrickmines that way. There is an alignment. So yeah, this Kieran Cooney digitised a film of the last week's The Line. So you see the train going over the Grand Canal, Silver Livery, DMU rail cars, green colour with the snail logo, and you see it going right down to Fox Rock. But I guess there's footage out there of the mouth-watering footage from Fox Rock to Bray, I'd like to think. But you see it come down here, and how rural this area is. It's just incredible. It's hard to imagine. I think commercially they start building in Sandyford, or Stillorgan Industrial Estate, Sandyford Stillorgan, 40 plus years ago. But even a report I found online, 1969, it's quite prophetic. It's completely incredible. This guy was anticipating decades before the Lewis tram line, as he called it, and he kind of unnerving accuracy about stops and staffless stations and this kind of modern tram. It's just, as a country, we let the bus take over, and all the tram networks ripped up across Europe. They consolidated the trams, and they evolved into the modern generation of air trams. Like I was with my nebbies in Hanover in 1999, and Hanover was only the size of Dunleary. Yeah, it has that fantastic tram system, overground, underground. I was going to say 1 million free. People get that joke. But we ripped most of our tram network up by 1949. So we're left with the Hill of Hope, and the last tram on the streets of Dublin was down to Dalkey, closed around this time. Now I can tie that in with the Harcourt Street line, because they ripped apart the last tram. The last tram took after midnight before it got into Dalkey. I think it was July 9th, 1949. So when they closed the Harcourt Street line, the actual last station, the last train deliberately was left early. I suppose a couple of things were in their mind. It was New Year's Eve, so lots of people in end of year what's the word? Excitement and alcohol and blah blah blah. And they didn't want a repeat of the tram, the last tram, so they deliberately left early. So we're beside the depot there. So the original station's down here. Now, as I've done in recent days, I've just revisited. Obviously I've covered all these stations innumerable times before. There it is there. So it's the 1854 building. Two-storey building, similar in design to Carrickmines and Shankill. But it's incredible. There's apart from the station building, there's nothing left. There would have been a down platform there, up platform roughly around here. There would have been I think it was a Dublin South Eastern Rail Bridge, Great Southern Rail Bridge, and would have been a waiting shelter. And it would have been a hedge, fantastic hedge. They love their hedges, especially in Foxrock with Stillorgan inscribed into it. And the big difference was there was a road overbridge, so the railway went under the road here. And I think that was removed decades ago. But I think of all the stations I've done Shankill, I've done Dundrum, I've done Milltown, Ranelagh. I suppose you can compare it with Ranelagh because there was a rail overbridge. This would have been a road bridge, so that's the only comparison. And this road was so much narrower in the Harcourt Street dining days. It's quiet now, but this is quite a busy road in the morning and in the evening, especially when the schools are back. But this is much narrower. Let's get across here and we'll get down to so this is the only section of line. Oh, before I go on, this station was hardly used, and it's contradiction. It says Stillorgan, it's nowhere near Stillorgan. I've come from Stillorgan and it's a mile and a half away, or maybe even 2 miles away, so that was complete contradiction. But like with Carrickmines and Milltowns, there was these were poorly served stations. Obviously it's different now. And you can imagine a dark line coming down here, it'd be very busy. Now saying that, I think the station here would have closed if it was a dark line. They would have moved it to where in between the current Stillorgan and Sandyford Lewis stop. So James O'Dea, the great James O'Dea, took 2 photographs of this section. So this connects up Brewery Road with Leopardstown Road. And he took 2 pictures. One facing Leopardstown Road, level crossing. When you blow up the resolution, it's hard to pick out the level crossing. The gates stretched across the road, but it didn't. They didn't connect. So this kind of is a windy bit here, but the lines would come down here. Would come down here. Guess what? I'm running low on battery as usual, so hopefully I'll make it. So really, once you're beyond Dundrum in the Harcourt Street days, it was countryside. So there's a few Victorian houses, Edwardian houses. That was it really. It was just a rural landscape. And here's a level crossing, you might just make it. Now at the level crossing, this was one of 2 level crossings on the line. Lathamstown Lane was the other one, Tully Gates. And you have the burnt out remains of the gatekeeper's house here, but after closure they demolished the gatekeeper's house. And probably the tracks were lifted over the road, much narrower road, we'll see in a minute. Probably in 1960. What they might have done, they might have lifted the tracks. It would have been on wooden sleepers and then left the tracks embedded in the road, and then this is just wild guess, probably at a later date they took up the tracks and resurfaced the roads. So they would have had a CIE employee to man these gates up here. This is famously contributed to the Dundrum crash in December 23rd, 1957, when a cow strayed onto the line, and it was foggy conditions, and it made its way down to the cutting, and there was a train that had been heading down there, and it stopped, and then there was confusion with the communication between Dundrum signal box and Foxrock. Don't forget, Stillorgan would have been just a halt, no signal box. There was a signal box there, 1928. So, and then the other train that was coming from Bray crashed into the train that had stopped, and the driver tragically died. It was I think there was some passengers injured as well, but yeah, tragic event. And so livestock could just, especially cows, could just get onto the line. So there would have been a big inquiry over that. So here we are. This is quite a long video. Here we are. So all this overgrowth here, there's nothing left. So all this overgrowth here is where the signal box would have been, or the gatekeeper's house would have been. Sorry, there would have been a signal box here as well, and the gates here. But as with Brewery Road, there's nothing left. Absolutely nothing left. We'll just look back. There you go. So again, a busy road compared to what it was like in Market Street days. It's very quiet. So they would have widened this road over the previous decades, and as I said, this would have been commercially and residentially built up. So roughly there would have been where the gatekeeper's house was, and it would have been a signal box. And then you have there's a GA pitch there, and the line would have hooked the rear end of the house that's going down to the old Foxrock station, which I've been down. I won't go down there today. I visit that location a lot, so I will take that in, but I just want to revisit these locations. Yeah, so OD would have been stood around here somewhere taking a photograph, and then you would have seen the road overbridge. Okay, appreciate you watching my videos and getting good response. And I don't have comments on these, so people can Facebook me, private message me on Facebook if they want to make any inquiries. Thanks very much.